Hi singers, welcome back to Vocal Diagnostics. Today I'd like to introduce you to a little principle I call the speed bump principle. So when you drive over a speed bump in real life in a car, you often have to slow down and ease over the bump so you don't completely destroy the bottom of your car, which I've never done before. So when you treat that speed bump with that kind of care, you often approach it at an angle and ease over, no problem, but you definitely can't take it at a quick speed. The same thing is true to some degree with registers. When we're first figuring out how to sing between different registers, we often need to slow down and give our muscles a chance to figure out how to coordinate a little bit better before we can move easily through the registers. Okay, what do I mean by register? Well, we're talking about the difference between, say, chest voice and head voice. Those are the registers we talk about mostly. So, say for example, I'm speaking in my chest voice, a chest voice dominant register, but I'm headed to my head voice. There's often a break that we call it in the voice, a little yodel or a lip or something like that in the sound that is an interruption that has kind of a big crack or a seam that we can hear. Sometimes we do this on purpose, but we should be able to do it without a seam if we know what we're doing. If you want to have it there on purpose, that's absolutely a stylistic choice that we can work in, but again, should be a conscious choice. So say we're working through our head voice and our chest voice, and we want to make our voice more seamless. We want to get rid of those big cracks and breaks. What we can do is treat them like speed bumps. So, for example, if I'm here on F major, and I'm going E, where I started to feel that little change happening and some shifting happening down in here, I slowed down, eased over my perceived break there, and then I kept going. And then I took it back down, slowed down over the same point. You can also get quieter if you want to make sure that you're really doing what you should to produce good, healthy sound. When we get quieter, we often help the vocal cords to get better closure, so the tone becomes more clear and core-filled, and then we can navigate that with even more efficiency and ease and in a healthier way. So let's try that again. When you feel the switch, when you feel the transfer, just slow down and back off the sound a little bit if you feel it helps. Every voice is a little bit different, and you may be at a certain stage in your development where getting quieter introduces more breathiness or tension. So don't do that if it doesn't feel or sound good. Here we go. See how that works? You just gently guide yourself over the perceived break, and then you get to the other side. And I say perceived break because there's really not a break. What we're talking about is an exchange of different muscles. So at any given point in your register, there's usually a group of muscles that's dominant. When you're low in the range, in the low and the loud range of our voices, that's our thyroarytenoid muscles. They're going to be dominant. When you're in the upper part of your voice, that's where the cricothyroid muscles are usually dominant. They control the quiet and the high part of our vocal range. So at any given point in your range, one of those groups is going to be sort of in the driver's seat. When we switch between registers, often what's happening is that we have kind of a war between those dominant muscle groups, and we need to get them to work as better neighbors. And to do that, we may have to change the conditions, right? Until we get used to exchanging between those different parts of our range without such abrupt shifts, so they can work together more seamlessly. An example that makes a lot of sense to me that may work for you is whenever you see runners running a relay race and they pass the baton. You'll notice runners match speed first before they pass the baton off. They don't just hand it off at a dead stop and the other one goes. It's a similar concept here. We're slowing down to pass off the exchange of the muscles and to the other dominant group, and then we let that group take off. It's an idea that helps us to not interrupt the sound, to keep the breath moving, keep core sound, keep vibrato, that kind of thing, but not a full stop or an abrupt switch. Let's try a few more. Now you'll notice on these, I spin for some of them, and I do straight tone on other parts. For me, it's all about the path of least resistance. If you feel like a spin is a healthier, more supported way to go, do that. If you feel like you can continue to support and let the chords ease over that little break while you're doing straight tone, also valuable. Check in with your teachers, but Bottom line is, tell me how it feels. If it feels tight, if it feels tense, or if it sounds airy, or it sounds irregular, that's not a good option. Let's try another one. Some, like you just heard, are more successful than others, and a lot of it depends on the conditions you have that day. How hydrated are you? How tired are you? How comfortable are you switching registers to begin with? So those are the kinds of things to think about. This speed bump principle works really well to move from the bottom to the top and back down in intervals of a fifth, but you can also do it on an octave, and you can speed up the process. So if you wanted to go that works just as well. And of course we need to work on those larger intervals eventually, because that's what we find out in the wild in our pieces that we're working on, our art songs and our arias and anything that you're singing, really. There are register switches in every piece of music, so it's good to get well acquainted with these muscle groups and how they function, and teach them to be a little bit better neighbors and get that fluid exchange happening between the two of them, so that there's not an abrupt stop or an actual break or perceived break, right? If you speed that up, it works like this. You hear little pockets there where I might slow for just a second or get a little quieter. Those changes right there, that's the speed bump principle at play. Here, okay, I can dance around up there, I can experiment, I'm going to listen for that air. You could hear on a few of those I had a little more air in that tone than I should have, so I have to adjust some things, maybe a jaw tension thing, but again, the idea here is when you feel that switch or that exchange start to happen, just slow down and take your time and ease over it. Okay, so what's the end product? Why would we do this? Because we can't do this every time we come to a register shift, of course. That's not a viable solution. What you can do is practice this slowly, and eventually, as that coordination between the registers gets better, you'll be able to speed this up and go a little bit faster. And it eventually becomes instinctive where you're not really thinking about it, as long as the breath pressure is consistent and the tone is full of good core sound and you're policing your tension there. A lot of things to do, but that will happen naturally, instinctively, because the body doesn't feel that same resistance where it used to. It's really just a matter of acquainting your muscles with that gesture and how it feels. Okay, everybody, that is the speed bump principle. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go to YouTube on Survival for Singers to check out more videos and more content, and also the website Survival for Singers to see more videos like these and other information about the singing business in general. Thanks for watching, everybody.